Max Verstappen is 63 points behind championship leader with 6 races and 3 sprints still to go. But Red Bull say they are bringing more upgrades to the RB21 to try and give Max every bit of chance to overhaul Oscar Piastri's championship advantage. We usually see upgrades around the United States Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, but with 2026 on the horizon, we should not be expecting anything major from these teams. Yet, Red Bull are going all in with more upgrades for the RB21, not like 1 or 2 more parts, but potentially a whole raft of upgrades for the RB21 is expected. Is this move going to be enough to give Max Verstappen the juice to win this championship? Red Bull's definitive improvement of its 2025 car is saving Max Verstappen's season, but it's come at a surprising price of a 2026 sacrifice. Verstappen couldn't make it 3 victories in a row in Singapore, but he was George Russell's closest challenger all weekend. He did beat McLaren in a straight fight at a high downforce circuit for the first time this season. That also came at a track where Max and Red Bull have really struggled in recent seasons. Even McLaren team boss Andrea Stella admitted that this was evidence of Red Bull really getting on top of its car's main weaknesses, which is a result of sustained intense development of the RB21. Looking at this graphic put together by racefans.net where they have listed the upgrades the top teams have bought since the Austrian Grand Prix, you can see Austria, Britain, Belgium, Hungary, the Dutch Grand Prix, Italian Grand Prix, Azerbaijan and Singapore all in the list. Looking at the top teams, you can see that Ferrari have bought the occasional upgrade. They made a few tweaks in Italy, not surprising at all. This is Ferrari we are talking about. They bought a front wing, a rear wing and a beam wing. McLaren, they have bought quite a few upgrades. Early on they bought that big suspension upgrade. They also have bought stuff to Monza. Most weekends, McLaren aren't bringing any much. Mercedes have bought a few stuff here and there. Latest is their front wing upgrade at Singapore, which seems to have added a bit more wing flexibility, unlocking more performance by widening the car's operating window. But if you compare the boxes of the top teams, by far Red Bull have bought most upgrades. They have bought something to every race weekend. Austria, they bought that floor edge upgrade. Silverstone, they had a new front wing and more changes to the floor. Pretty substantial I would say, but Spa was huge. They had another tweaked front wing, revised side pod inlets, revised engine cover and a revised front suspension specification. In Hungary, they again had another front wing upgrade and some tweaks to the brake ducts. Netherlands, they bought another new front wing. They have bought literally a redesigned front wing to every race here in this list. And for Monza again, they had another new front wing and significant changes to the floor was made. Baku, tweaks to the wing assembly, and Singapore again another new front wing was brought and they bought a reprofiled engine cover. Every weekend they have bought something new, and while there are like 4 weekends where McLaren has bought nothing, same goes with Ferrari, they have bought nothing and yet Red Bull had upgrades. Even Mercedes had a straight 3 weekend gap, but where Red Bull had bought upgrades. But Red Bull had something new on their car every single race and you might think they're done, right? They have developed the car enough. Time to shift focus on to next year. To be fair, Red Bull's focus would have already been on next year's car for quite a while now. The thing is, new parts specifically do take time to manufacture, even though they were developed like a month or 2 ago. So it is usual for us to see teams bringing upgrades to Austin with 6 races remaining in the season. Historically, that has been the case. You can remember if you go back to the past, Mercedes does this a lot. In 22 and 23, they bought upgrades to Austin and be like, yes, the upgrades are working, and they take that as the new baseline for next year's car development. They take more understanding into the car development process. So that's why they bring upgrades to Austin normally. But 2026 is a year which presents us with one of the biggest regulation changes from an aerodynamic and chassis side combined. Arguably the biggest I have seen in Formula 1. From the day I've been watching Formula 1, this is the biggest change that I'm going to see, both in terms of engines and aerodynamics. So it's natural for you and I to expect teams to shift more focus onto next year's project and to stop with upgrades on this year's car, right? Well, not Red Bull actually. Laurent Mekies after Singapore Grand Prix said this: "We have made a step forward and we know we have more coming." So good stuff. Now, he's giving a lot of optimism to all the Verstappen fans, and if you are one of that clan, you are hearing this right. Red Bull have more upgrades coming, and with the positive result the team saw at Singapore, look, if he had stuck the car on pole, Max was definitely going to dominate the race and win the race easy. Also, the McLarens were not quite there in the picture for the race win. And Singapore showed that Mercedes has taken a genuine step forwards with that new front wing. So George Russell and possibly Kimi Antonelli could continue to throw a spanner in the works, because if Max is first but the McLaren boys run up the podium, it will be a tough run for Max. It won't be enough for him to overhaul Piastri's championship advantage. He needs somebody else in the mix, making matters complicated for the McLaren boys. Say, that could be George Russell, or even Antonelli might be joining the fray. But considering Singapore's performance, a track that has been very difficult for Red Bull in the recent past, and for Max himself, he doesn't have a pole there. So you can see he has poles in every other 23 circuits, not in Singapore yet. So to come home second in that circuit, given all issues he had during the Grand Prix, like the downshifts problem he was experiencing, and still he outscored Piastri by 6 points, that is enough. And if Mackay believes they can improve the RB21 more to provide Max with enough tools to try and make the greatest comeback in the championship's history, it sounds to me like there is more than one part coming here. At least looks like the team has a few more ideas they would like to stick on the car and see probably if they work or not first of all, and if they work, they take it as a performance bar. And probably we will be seeing some more front wings in the mix as well. Mackay has said that upgrades will come this year with a cost of next year. But the idea of still bringing an upgrade, we heard rumors about this months ago about Red Bull committing hard into 2025, but I did not expect by the time we get to Austin to be talking about a whole portfolio of upgrades still being on the horizon. I mean, they have, bought some new part to every single GP since Austria. That's an awful lot of upgrades, and probably that continues deep into the season, and probably Red Bull might have the fastest car close to the end of the season. Then Max will have what it takes to win several more races. Not to mention, it has been quite a while now since either McLaren driver has stepped on the top step of their podium. It has been Max and George sharing it for quite some time now. So kind of puts things to context here as to where things currently lie. I think McLaren do not have the car advantage they had early on the season, except for tire deg maybe. And if Red Bull keep improving their car and Mercedes chips in as well, I don't see why Verstappen wouldn't be able to take this title fight to the line versus Piastri and Norris. But I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new, take care, and if you made it this far, go ahead and watch this video showing up on the screen now to find out how the engine's race for the 2026 season is looking like.